So welcome back to another Thursday on the Pagan Perspective. I'm your Thursday host, Jekka. And this week we have a topic from Candle Blogger who wants to know about our opinions on Exposing Witchcraft by Carol Kornacki, I think the name is said. So anyways, I have to admit that I did not watch a lot of her material. I did watch some and got a general idea of what it was, and then chose to stop engaging with it. And the reason that I did that was because it became very clear quite quickly that I was not the intended audience for this. What it looked like was the intended audience was for other Christians, and this Kornacki is clearly a Christian at this point who claims to have once been involved in occult and witchcraft and all of that. And what it appeared from what I did watch was that the framework that she was operating on was basically that there is a God, there is a devil, and that all power either comes from God, and if it's not coming from God, then it's coming from the devil. And therefore, witchcraft must be of the devil. And she's got a lot of basically presentations about that, and coming from her religion's specific framework. Now the problem for me watching that is that that's not my framework. I fundamentally do not accept the premise that there is a God and a devil. So the rest of her arguments, which I could go through and try and, create a rebuttal to each one of them, and it seems like a lot of people have. I haven't gotten a chance to watch the previous host videos this week yet, but they look like they're a little bit, some of them are a little bit longer and perhaps have gone into more detail on some of her specific points. But her framework we don't agree with that starting place. So what I actually want to talk about in this video is that I think sometimes it is very useful to engage with people who have different perspectives and different opinions than you. I think that, or at least for me, is one of the times that I learn the most, that is the most interesting, is when somebody really doesn't agree and can really challenge the perspective that I'm coming from. However, it isn't always useful to engage with these people. And how to decide that is a really big, important theme. So I want to share how I decide to engage with that or to not engage. The first thing that I do is I look at how close is this person? What is this person's role in my life? Is this just a random YouTube friend? Is this my significant other? Is this a business partner? Is this a family member? How close is this person, and why would I want to engage? Maybe it's not even a person that I'm engaging one-on-one. Maybe it's more like these presentations, which are, hers were basically speeches that she was given, but maybe documentaries or books or things like that. So there's that first level of deciding, like, how worth it in this world of information overload that we're in. When I am looking to engage with somebody who is, whether it's a in-person friend, a Facebook friend, an author, a documentary maybe, that would be like a team of people, a YouTube host or a blog or something like that, what I look for is I'm looking for intellectual integrity, and I'm also looking for intellectual and emotional maturity. And that's something that you're going to gauge on an individual basis. But some of the qualities that I look for there is the ability for that person or authority that, if it was a documentary or something like that, for them to be able to look and critically evaluate their own position. The ability to actively listen to your position. Now, if it's a blogger or a YouTube host or somewhere that's not an in-person conversation, that's a little bit harder. But if it's a YouTube, you know, if it's a text communication or an in-person verbal communication, that's a little bit different. But also indicating through their language the ability to listen to as well. And also indicating that they have some respect for your intellectual independence and your intellectual abilities is really, really critical. So it's a little bit easier to spot red flags for when that's not occurring than it is to always spot when it is occurring. So I want to talk about 3 major red flags that come up. I have notes because I've been thinking about this all day, guys. I'm sorry. But the biggest red flag, like the number 1 red flag for me, when I'm trying to evaluate how useful engaging with these people are, and in this alternate perspective, is whether they are presenting their position, their framework, their opinion, whatever it is, as truth. Particular phrases, you know, to really watch out for: truth, reality, you know, harsh reality, or the fact of the matter. Expressions like, well, the way this is, it's this way, whether you choose to see it or not. So specifically when they're using that actual language, but also just when they're presenting their opinions as truth. Now, why I see that as a problem is because, first of all, it's not acknowledging that they might not be right? But the other big thing is that it's not leaving room for other interpretations. It's not leaving room for discussion. So if that person isn't open to other perspectives, if they already have the truth, then my question would be, well, why would they, if they believe that they have the truth, why would they listen to other perspectives? And if they already have the truth, I question personally how they came to that truth. When they were forming their opinions, how critically were they able to look at other information, at data, or other interpretations of data? Or had they already decided what they wanted to believe and either ignored other data, other information, other perspectives, or simply only engaged with them enough to scrutinize, critique, and find a problem because they had already discovered the truth? So that kind of language, for me, is an immediate, huge red flag. The alternative that I'd be looking for, so hopefully I wouldn't see a red flag like that. What I would be hoping to see from somebody would be language which indicates that they are open to discussion, whether you can actually have a discussion with them or not, depending on the medium, right? You know, if you're reading an article, obviously you can't have a one-on-one back and forth discussion with this person, but they can indicate through their language that they are open on an idea level to other ideas, other possibilities. So you would be looking for language like, my conclusion is XYZ. Maybe I think or I believe this from this information. You know, maybe other things like, it seems like. You know, language like that which indicates what their position is, but leaves open the possibility of revising, or the possibility that the situation may be more complicated than they previously thought or believed. So the next red flag that I look for is when they put words into your mouth. And in the Exposing Witchcraft, there's quite a bit of that happens. You're not being you, but others in general. But look, language like, your argument is XYZ, or you think this, or you think that, or you believe, where they're not letting you say what you believe, they're telling you what you believe. And I see this as a problem because, well, it has the issues with the previous point being that, they think that, it seems that they think that they have the truth, in this case, your opinion. But it also is a way of taking control, and they're framing the conversation, they're framing your perspective, your opinion, instead of the other way around. Now, this is different than if somebody was saying something like, what I hear you saying is XYZ. Is that correct? Now, that's different because they're still respecting your, again, intellectual independence there. And they're doing it in a way that clarifies and seeks understanding instead of control in the situation. Now, I don't think that people use these red flags that I'm talking about. I don't think that they're conscious techniques that people use it. Some of the alternative solutions, I think, often are conscious because it's harder to, right? It's harder to try and actively listen, and it's harder to try and recognize one's own position as a position. So, anyways, the third big red flag that I have is when somebody uses big emotions as a shield or as a defense, right? How many times have you had or witnessed or been in a conversation, particularly Facebook, where the person is just so offended that you would dare bring something up, or that you would have a perspective, or that this thing is happening, or they're angry about it? Like, how many times have you watched that happen? And what can happen there is that can be a way of, again, controlling the situation instead of addressing the alternative perspectives, addressing the challenges, addressing the whatever is actually going on. They can fall back to staying in control because of the social contracts and the empathy that we instinctually have, or that we do because of the social contract, to engage with those emotions as opposed and giving them control because of those emotions, because we don't want to upset them further, or we don't want to do, we feel bad because we have offended them or made them sad. Or maybe it might not even be something that they're offended about what we said. It might be, they have something else going on in their life. There's always something hard going on, or something that they're sad or stressed about. And when people use those non-related issues to control a situation, to control an argument, and I don't think this is conscious on most parts, that's a huge red flag. And that, to me, indicates that there is a gap where the emotional and intellectual maturity could be in that situation. And another really common connected scenario there is when they confuse a challenge to the ideas with an attack on them, right? And then they get the big emotions that, not to say that big emotions don't have a place, they certainly do, but I don't think, when they are used as a shield against an actual conversation, an open conversation and discussion of perspectives, to me that's not very useful, and I don't want to engage with that. So, let's step back and say, when I I really, really want to be exposed to different perspectives. I want to learn about other people, and even when I don't, especially when it's something that I don't understand, I want to learn more. There's a lot of Christian YouTubers. There are people from different political perspectives that I that I follow and watch, because they are able to express their ideas in a way that doesn't do those red flags that I talked about, and does it often in a way which uses those alternative forms of wording and communication that I talked about, which indicates their respect for me as a viewer. And I try very hard as a presenter of material and a sharer of perspectives here at my role as a host on YouTube. I try very hard to present my opinions in a way which leaves it open for other people, and for that doesn't try and claim my perspective or my opinion, whatever it is, as truth, and recognizes that you also have equally as valid and interesting perspectives. So when I choose whether or not I'm going to engage with a Facebook friend, when I see those red flags consistently happening, I usually unfollow them. And that's because we live in such an information-saturated world where I really, really want to learn, but I also don't want to engage in drama. I don't want to engage in manipulative kinds of interactions. So I choose to disengage from that. When I see YouTubers or bloggers or people like that consistently behaving in that way, I unfollow them. I unsubscribe. If it's a documentary, if it's a book I'm reading, or like this one in the Exposing Witchcraft series, I start to watch that, I see behaviors like that, I immediately put the book or the documentary away, and I move on to something else which which communicates with those kinds of qualities that we talked about at the beginning. So I think I'm going to have to edit this video down quite a bit, and I know that it wasn't directly about pagan this time, about paganism, but I think it really applies to, you know, different religions, different political, different groups, just different perspectives. And I think it's really important to keep in mind in these kinds of discussions that we have, and also just to bring to you, talk about where I try to come from as a host, and really trying to respect you guys on that level. So yes, long topic. I think next week I might not have quite as much to say, but we'll see, and I'll see you next week.